Mother of us all.
I was once quite terrified of the environmental scares, to have so many end-time states fall into the time that I'm going to be alive on this world at the time of this impossible population explosion and technology boom that we've been seeing in our world, when global suicide has obviously become quite possible. Made me think there may be something to religion, something to the things that they're saying about, end of the world, doomsday, Armageddon. I bought into things like Nostradamus and Edgar Cayce and the Mayan prediction of doom and the rapture, countless other theories and scare tactics that have been created. So when I met this ICC, it was very strange how, unlike so many other churches, they didn't focus at all on the end of the world and the coming tribulation you hear so much about. Never once did I ever hear them mention anything about rapture. They would think it's quite silly, as a matter of fact. We were a little bit more focused on what you had to do while you were still alive.
3 studies into it, one of them said, Ray, this study's right up your alley. You being all prophecy obsessed and everything. So, finally we were going to get around to talking about it. I thought, okay. And I immediately opened up to Revelation and said, let's go. And apparently, we never opened up to Revelation once that night. Strangely enough. I'm going to share with you the study that they shared with me. It's called the Kingdom Study. It is actually kind of fascinating. I mean, even to this day, I have to say it was pretty good for something that's supposed to convince you to get into the cult. You know what I'm saying? So it began my path to find a lot of these answers, yet I'm going to add a couple other things to the study that they didn't. That I'm actually quite surprised that they didn't add to it. I think they very much belong in there, and they lead you to further answers. I think answers that they wouldn't have wanted me to find.
This is how they did the study. They would hand you a notepad so that you can take notes, and we would go through scriptures, several of them that they specifically guided me towards. And we first turned to the Old Testament, and your job is to take the notepad, take notes, and to list things, prophecies that were supposed to come true later on, clues that were mentioned, that will be fulfilled in the New Testament. At the top of this pad, they told me to write 3 questions, which I did. These are what we'll solve by the end of the study. Number 1, when does the kingdom come? Number 2, what is this kingdom? Number 3, how do you enter this kingdom? Sounds so fun, doesn't it?
You, however, have an advantage that I didn't have. You have me. And I'll tell you why their answers are bullshit. Or, well, let's just say that they don't quite reach far enough into truth as I'd like for them to. Keep in mind something else, that nobody ever predicted anything. Ever. Alright, let's begin.
Now, the first verse that we have to look at is pretty useless. Isaiah chapter 2, I'll just go through it really quickly. Anyway, it says, "In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple will be established as chief among the mountains. It will be raised above the hills, and all nations will stream to it. Many peoples will come and say, 'Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. He will teach us in his ways, so that we may walk in his paths.' The law will go out from Zion, the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." We're using the metaphor of a mountain to speak of this kingdom. That's a strange metaphor, but it's very important. It comes out of Zion, like you didn't see that coming. So, okay, whatever, moving on. Now, here's the really interesting part. We're going now into the book of Daniel, which is a lot more useful than the Isaiah one. In the year 605 BCE, that's before the Common Era, for those of us who don't feel like saying before Christ, the state of Judah was captured by the Babylonian Empire and taken into exile under King Nebuchadnezzar. No, it's not just a ship on the Matrix. Daniel and his 3 friends, I think their names are something like Manny, Mo, and Jack, I don't know, whatever. They were all taken captive, and of course, the story says that Daniel and his friends stayed righteous to their God, while everybody else was being a complete moron. So they were apparently eating, not eating the bad, naughty things that the Babylonians would tempt them with. I guess bacon, Big Macs, that Baconator thing that comes out at Wendy's. And because of their great diet, God loves Daniel and his friends. But the king was troubled by this freaky-ass dream. So he issues a challenge to his astrologers and his magicians that they must not just interpret the dream, they have to tell him what the dream is first. Like if they're so psychic at the Dion Works hotline, why don't they call you when you have a problem? Why don't you just sit there at the phone and go, come on, ring, ring. I guess he wanted a real interpretation by a real trustworthy psychic because the dream troubled him so much. They begged him to tell him what the dream was, and he said, if you can't do it, I'll have you put to death because you're just a big useless liar. So there.
Imagine slaughtering Dionne Warwick for the very same reason. That's what friends are for, bitch.
Well, nobody else seemed to be worthy, but except for one person, God's good old boy, Daniel. I guess bacon makes you stupid. Daniel begs for the mercy of all the people that Nebuchadnezzar's going to put to death because they weren't real, and like the good little halo boy he is, Daniel tells King Neb that he dreamt of a statue. Yeah, just like that one. Only, let's spice things up a little bit. So, it's this weird-ass statue. The head was made out of gold, the chest and arms were of silver, the belly and thighs were of bronze, and the legs were iron. Now imagine having that damn thing appraised. It would probably, be pretty worthless. Make a hell of a paperweight. Now strangely, the feet were iron and clay mixed together, which is just fucked up. Then out of nowhere, a giant rock, not made of human hands, it very specifically says that, not made of human hands, came out of nowhere, hit the statue in the feet, and gave it the pedicure of a fucking lifetime. And so the statue crumbles to dust, but the rock becomes a mountain. There we go again with that whole mountain thing, and that mountain, it says, endured forever.